All right, on this video, I'm starting by getting into lesson 3 of unit 5 here. But basically all lesson 3 is in this unit is simply converting from one form to another. So as you look at the examples here, 9 through 12, you can see that it's really kind of what we started with in lesson 1 of unit 5. These are what we call the general form equations. And we have been able to use these to identify what type of conic we're working with. However, now what we're going to be asked to do is convert from this general form into the standard form after identifying the conic section. So the other form, the standard form, is what you've seen, say, for example, here. So here's like a hyperbola in standard form. In fact, those are all hyperbolas. Let me go, here's your ellipses. So it's the idea of the, like in parentheses, x minus h squared over a number, and y minus k squared over a number equal 1. So those are what we call the standard form. But we're being given in unit 3, section 3, we're being given the general form, and we want to get it into that nice standard form. So what we do is what we call completing the square. So we're gonna it's like factoring, right? It's like a really glorified version of factoring these types of problems. So what I'm gonna do is switch over because I've added into Schoology this document here. And in this document, we have the steps for completing the square. So let's say we're given a formula such as f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. The first thing we do is, if our equation isn't already in the order we want it, the first step is just simply grouping the x squared and then the x terms together. We put a parentheses around it, we make sure they're next to each other, and in this example we started with 2x squared plus 4x minus 7. And really, honestly, there are 6 steps here, but it is very simple steps. In fact, look at example, well, not the example, but the overarching example here, where step 1 is literally putting a set of parentheses around the x terms. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2, if you have it, if you have a coefficient in front of the x squared term, the next step is to just simply factor it out. Just make sure that when you factor the 2 out of the parentheses here on x squared, that you've factored it out of the x term. So here we had 4x, but we want to factor out a 2, so that becomes x squared plus 2x. Then in step 3, this is where it gets kind of arbitrary, kind of like you got to know what you're doing. You have to add half of the coefficient on the x, the x squared in parentheses. Okay, what that means is half of the x term, so here the coefficient is 2 on the x term. We are going to take half of that number and square it. So in step 3, add half of the x coefficient squared. So we are adding 1 squared inside the parentheses. So you see we've bumped out our parenthesis here. We've added room so that we said plus 1 squared. And then we continued the minus 7. Step 4, we subtract that equivalent amount to the outside of the parentheses. So in this step, we're going to repeat. So 2 times the quantity x squared plus 2x plus 1 squared. We're going to close the parentheses minus 7. Now, we are going to, as it says, subtract the equivalent amount outside. Well, here it says minus 2. We added 1 squared. But keep in mind that anything inside the parentheses gets multiplied by the 2 out front. So we are going to subtract the equivalent amount outside the parentheses. Added 1 squared in parentheses says that you need to multiply by the 2. So that's where we got subtracting the amount of 2. The last step, I would consider the last step in terms of completing the square at least, is simply writing it as the perfect square. So everything in the parentheses, x squared plus 2x plus 1, is in fact a perfect square, so we rewrite all of that. So we say 2 times the quantity x plus this number, well, it's half of the x term squared. So 2 times x plus 1 squared, and then minus the stuff simplified, minus 9. So that is completing the square. That is the steps one at a time. I will make this a short video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it here. That's just simply walking through, because what I'm going to do is my next video I will do a couple of these. There are 7 examples. I might walk through about 2 of those on the video, and then a third video will come out, and that will just be a couple of the problems from the notes themselves here, Unit 5 notes. I'll probably do 9 or 10, and then probably 12. So anyways, back to that. Next video, you'll see some examples. So thanks.